I will
stylish.
never take that for granted like ever again. Like he gets to wear sweats all day, and just it's a blessing. That was a blessing, and I definitely understood what a blessing it was.
So School Spirits is super fun. I am really enjoying myself watching it. And Wally is like the best character. Tell me a little bit about him and what drew you to his character.
Wally is the most fun character I've ever played. He has the most comfortable wardrobe I've ever had. He he's just a puppy dog, you know? And I also realized this shooting the movie. I love the 80s. I love everything that came out of the 80s, the movies, especially the music. I would listen to 80s music on my way to work pretty much every day to get me in the Wally mindset. But he's just a kind-hearted guy and he just wants to have fun, you know, and that it's always really refreshing when you get to play a character who's generally happy and wants to have a good time, because it really just puts you in a better mood, like Offset as well. And he's surrounded by amazing people, and what more could you ask for?
Yeah, exactly. And he gets to wear, but he's got the sweats and the shorts,
I will
stylish.
never take that for granted like ever again. Like he gets to wear sweats all day, and just it's a blessing. That was a blessing, and I definitely understood what a blessing it was.
Yeah. Well, and Wally's kind of this legend of the school. He's got a very different high school experience than his fellow afterlife colleagues. How does
Yes.
that affect his relationships with all of them?
That's a good question. I mean, you know, Wally was the golden boy when he was alive. They named the stadium after him. He obviously is somebody that people think of fondly at the school. It's interesting because you never really get to see how Wally adjusts to the afterlife. You meet him when he's been dead for, 40 years. So he's pretty well adjusted. And something that I love about Wally in the show is his sort of like unconventional friendships with these people that it's kind of impossible for those friendships to be, because you have a high schooler in the 80s with a high schooler in the 90s who just lived in a completely different time, the 60s, and they have this weird like brother sister relationship, and but they're family, and they help each other grow, and they're there for each other. There's not really anybody else that's there.
Tell me a little bit about the kind of dialogue between the afterlife support group, because I feel like those scenes must have been so much fun to film.
I was hoping that on the first day we would be able to like do some improv and banter a little bit. And boy, was I right. We got to go off on tangents every single scene and do whatever. And also, the director of episode 1 and 2, Max Wakeler, he would shout stuff out at us and he'd be like, just play with this, just go on this tangent or whatever. And that's like such a blessing as an actor to be able to explore. I know it's kind of scary sometimes, but I feel like when you have a good understanding of your character and the relationships, it's really fun. And those scenes were my favorite to shoot, honestly. Obviously, there's so many different things that we get to do on the show, but coming back to the afterlife support group, it's just refreshing. It's comfortable, and it's so fun. Like it's like playing a game, honestly. It's like back and forth, like tossing a ball. It's really fun.
And are we going to get to dive into a little bit more of Wally's, pre-afterlife life as the show goes on?
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but I will
Yeah.
say you take a deep dive into all of the dead characters' lives, and you
Mhm.
learn a lot about them, and you get to know them really personally, which I feel adds a lot to the show. And there's also, it something that is cool is it kind of plays into what decade they're from as well. Like these like I don't want to say not even stereotypes, but just these ways of living you really dive into. And I think it's cool to have a show where you have people from all different times at the same age, and it highlights the things that are different, but also highlights what we all universally go through as high schoolers. But yeah, I had a really good time taking a deep dive into Wally's past life, and I had a lot of connections with him that I didn't really know I would have when I just auditioned for the character, because I didn't know that that's who he was. But yeah, I definitely could connect with him there.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see more of Wally and more of School Spirit. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.